Hi everybody, it's Joe from Chilili, where we celebrate water in the garden. I wanted to share with you today something about lotus that you may be unaware of. Lotus throughout most of Asia is eaten, every piece of the plant. Now when we grow a lotus plant, you'll see here how beautiful it is. But could you imagine eating all the parts of that plant? The tuber, the sprouts, the seeds, everything is edible on this particular plant. And most of Asia loves this plant for its edibility. So when you check out a dormant lotus like this, doesn't it look yummy? I bet not. But we're going to show you the tuber that we're going to harvest today and show you how in most of Asia they're using it similar like we would use a potato. You can slice those tubers up and fry it like a chip, but most often it's used as a vegetable. So you think of it as something to add starch to your diet. So you may be aware that lotus come in many shapes and sizes and of course colors, but this particular one is grown as a food crop. This particular one is called Hubei. It's an area in China, and it's really bred for producing a larger tuber because then we can use it for more food. If we're growing a lotus as a decorative plant, the tuber is going to be hybridized and more grown for its flower color or flower shape. For us, dividing a lotus starts, we try and shoot for around February 14th. So when the plant is completely dormant here in St. Louis, it's time for us to go ahead and harvest and divide those tubers. This plant is showing last year's growth is completely dormant. And because this was in a greenhouse and it was a little warmer, we already have some new growth. But we're basically overall the plant is still dormant. So this is fresh new growth. This piece is edible, and this is last year's growth, which of course fed the tubers that are going to be exposed in this soil. So we're going to turn this container over and look for some tubers. All right, so we flipped that sucker over, and now I'm just going to simply rinse the soil away from these tubers and push a little of the soil away. We're really looking for growing tips. Here's one. This growing tip, if we're doing propagation, is what we're interested in. If we were harvesting for food, we're going to eat the nodules in between. Lotus, when you plant them, we'll plant this at the surface of the soil, but as it grows throughout the season, it will immediately shoot to the bottom of the container and then start growing in the shape of the container. And this one, it's round. Round generally lets the tuber keep going and going. So this year's growth or last year's growth ran straight to the bottom of the container and just encircles it. So the next project is just going to be to rinse this soil away. Oh, here comes the tip. And try to not break those tips off. Nice. And then we're going to harvest that tuber. For propagation techniques, we'll leave at least 2 of these nodules and then cut here. So when you order something from Chilili, we'll try and send you at least 2 nodes and, of course, a nice growing tip. Okay, for a quick review, we flipped that container over, The tubers were all intertwined on the bottom of the container, and we harvested the tubers. For edible crop like this particular one, we would eat all of this. For propagation, we're going to keep that. For sale, when you order, you'll get something like that. And this one tuber will turn into that massive plant in just one season if you're using good soil, like we have aquatic gold soil from Chilili, and then we use Chilili fertilizer, of course. And in one season, this tuber turned into this large plant. Towards the end of the video, we'll show you what a edible tuber looks like size-wise, and this is fairly small because this is a fairly small container in the size of the earth. Compare that size of that tuber to a tuber that we're growing for decorative reasons. Okay, the next step in our process is I'll continue to clean these up for storage purposes because we generally try and harvest these in mid to late February. We'll store these in a cooler for shipment later in the spring if you order a tuber and you want to plant it when it's warm enough outside. So a tuber that we're going to send you again is we'll send you at least 2 nodes, and typically this one's cut here. So we want a good growing tip and 2 nodes, and that's what we'll end up sending you. And of course we'll remove all the soil and all these old roots and stuff and store it in that cooler until it's proper time for shipment, because they are a little sensitive to being transplanted when it's too cold outside. So we want it to be warm enough outside for them to have a good success. Now, as you see, these tubers, and these aren't really giant ones, they're giant compared to a decorative lotus tuber. So this is a lotus tuber that's going to turn into a beautiful flower, and we would grow this in our backyard pond just for that foliage and that flower. This tuber is much bigger and can get much, much bigger, and that's the one we would use for a food source. Yeah, if we have a even bigger container, these tubers are going to get even bigger. And another tip is, if you're trying to get big, fat, edible tubers, is to quit fertilizing a little bit earlier in the season. So about mid-August or so. The plant then starts shutting down, goes into storage mode, making those tubers even bigger, which then are larger for us to eat in the future. So out of the greenhouses, we learned about the different kinds of lotus, the edible and the flowering. And on our way down from the greenhouses to the retail store, we stopped at the Asian market and picked up a couple lotus products that we can try together. The first one, all we can translate so far, is that it's dried lotus seed. It doesn't talk about preparation or how you eat it, but let's see if it is what I think it is. It looks like a piece of popcorn, dry piece of popcorn. There's no cheese or flavor in it, looks like, but let's see what it really tastes like. Okay, the texture reminds me of a snack I had a long time ago called corn nuts. Maybe about the same flavor, not a lot of flavor. I'm not sure if you're supposed to prepare this in any way or just eat it like that. So these seeds originated in seed pods, which happen to be sitting behind me. So this is a dry seed pod from a lotus. A decorative flowering lotus produces a seed pod. If it's fertile, we'll have seeds in there. And I suppose if we dried those seeds out, this is what we're eating. It is growing on me. Not too bad. I did pick up another item, so let's try that next. All right. Our next product is in this pouch, and to me it should be in the refrigeration section, but it's not. Google did a little translate for us, and it's supposed to be sweet and soft. Definitely feels soft. On the back, it's got a couple different preparation techniques. We're just going to try the first one, which is open the pack and eat it. If I have any violent reaction to it, then I'm going to heat it up and see if it's any better. But we're going to give it a good try because I do love sweets. And so if this is sweet, it could be delicious. A minute ago, I showed you the dried lotus seed, and they were a bit dry and not the most flavorful thing in the world. I have eaten lotus seeds before they're ripe, so they're green in these pods, and they are sweet. So this lotus root could be very sweet. I think in the video earlier, I showed you the cross section of a lotus, and you can see they're illustrating that here also. Let's see, how do you get this out of this pouch? I'm going to give it a squeeze. Oh, look at that. There's definitely some structure to it, and also a consistency of applesauce in between. I assumed it was all like that, but here's something else. It does smell sweet. Oh, look at that. I wasn't expecting that from the texture of touching the pouch. So here goes. And if you're a good translator, you can always message us and say, what does it really say? And also, how do you like to prepare it? It's pretty good. I don't think I would classify it as sweet like a cupcake or a dessert that we're used to, but it's definitely got a sweet um, taste to it. The texture is kind of firm, kind of like a sweet potato. So not too tough, not too soft. Yep, I could get used to that. Let's try this applesauce consistency. Yep, that's a good description of the consistency. A little bit sweeter than the rest of the root itself. So I've had some fun trying a couple new treats, learning a little bit about edible lotus and flowering lotus. I hope you had some fun too, and maybe in your town you can pick up some of these treats and give them a try also. I do appreciate you spending a little time with us. Check us out at chilili.com, Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok.